All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and friends. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick, and my goodness, this has been another incredible week for stories. It has been another incredible week for social media, especially in those Twitter streets. People are really upset about a lot of things, actually, as a matter of fact, but more specifically, why Sony has decided to sell themselves out, according to some, and bring their biggest first-party games to PC. We're going to be talking about that later on in the show. And of course, to lead off tonight's show is we're going to be talking about how Microsoft is currently holding all the cards based on the rumored and leaked information, and that they do in fact have some serious advantages over Sony going into the next generation. But before we start off with that spicy tamale, I have to introduce my panel. And of course, you're going to see some new faces that have decided to guest appear tonight. First of all, we have to welcome in Kid Smooth. Now, you know Kid Smooth as being one of the biggest Xbox fans this side of the universe. But what really sells his incredible YouTube channel is his rage videos when he's playing something like Sekiro, where he was breaking controllers, and obviously it's some of the best entertainment I've ever watched. Kid Smooth, welcome to tonight's program, dude.
What's up, Boomstick? Thanks for having me. I haven't been on a podcast with you in a little bit, but I'm happy to be on. So I love your energy, and if it's Xbox related, especially with the Series X, I am all for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're going to have a good time tonight because we have a lot to talk about. And I really want to get I want to dig into your thought process on how you think Microsoft is going to handle this. But if you agree with me on some of the points that I brought up for tonight's show. Next, we have, you know him as being someone that's almost become a regular on here. I enjoy working with him. He has the raspiest voice in podcasting, but he is also a diehard gamer and an Xbox fan through and through. Welcome, Crispy Bomb.
Hey, good to see you. Good to be on. Everybody in the chat, let's get this fire rolling.
Well, listen, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, once again, thank you so much for being here. This was a last-minute addition, and of course, he answered the call, so I definitely appreciate that. And certainly, we're going to go to someone who is not controversial. The guy speaks his mind. He enjoys Anthem, and of course, showing off his cool gear that he finds almost on a daily basis. He is, of course, the leader of the Sesh Empire and someone that I am proud to work with on a weekly basis. Please welcome So Shady.
All right, thanks for that intro, Boom. It is good to be back once again this week for another amazing panel you've lined up, and great topics, man. Let's get into it.
Well, listen, let's get into what we're really here for. We're all Xbox fans, and there are a lot of people in here in the chat. First of all, we have to thank the 100 people already watching live, and I have to say that the success that Double Barrel Gaming has seen in 2020 in only 3 weeks has been nothing short of goosebump inducing, which I'm having right now just talking about it. I've been doing this for 2 years. I've only been doing live podcasting for about 16 months, where I started to do my own shows. I started off like everybody, right? Just doing videos and hoping that someone would watch them, not ever realizing that I had this hidden producer inside of me that just wanted to talk about gaming. And what's crazy is I never knew I would be able to find an audience that would appreciate it. I mean, obviously, there are so many talented and amazing content creators that, I didn't know where this was going to go. And the amount of success has been only because of these people that are here listening now and will be hopefully listening on the replay. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we did a very big primetime gaming, and I have to announce this because the numbers are just insane. We just crossed 11,000 views on that live show. I have never in almost 2 years of doing live content, or 16 to 18 months, ever had any kind of success like that. And that's thanks to you guys and gals in the chat. So I just want to say thank you. But before we get into the first topic, I have to thank Emmanuel A. with the outstanding $3 super chat. He says, shout out to the best bot, Kid Smooth. Hold it down, kid. I know you're going to bring a lot of your fans over this way because people really enjoy what you have to say. So listen, let me get into this. Now, obviously, I stand by this statement, and this is not an Xbot statement. This is not making fun of the PS5 or their fan base. This is just me as someone who has been reading the tea leaves and has been involved in content creation for over 2 years. I think that the potential for releasing 2 SKUs will automatically give the Xbox Series X and S, as we're calling it, the winning ingredients to exactly what won Sony the generation through almost the entire generation. And that, of course, is price and power. Now, the other 2 X factors, no pun intended, that are being overlooked by many in the media as well as the vocal social media space are Xbox Game Pass and Project xCloud. Now, Reddit has been very hot with PlayStation news, and it appears that either on February 5th or February 16th, as the rumors suggest, Sony will be hosting a PlayStation 5 reveal event. And it has been suggested in these Reddit leaks that there's going to be 3 first-party PS5 games that will be shown, along with some third-party developers being there. And of course, the main event will be the unveiling of the PlayStation 5. Now, I know that we're all excited because guess what? Even if you don't like the PlayStation, it's still new tech and it's something to talk about. Now, I want to say this. The market leader, me being Sony, needs this more now than anyone will dare to admit publicly, socially, or otherwise. And considering all the negative news that have accompanied the brand in the last few months, a strong showing could stop the bleeding. But for context, I want to kind of just throw this out there, and then we're going to right back into the Xbox, which is what this topic is about. I kind of want to just make sure that my claims are understood before I started getting called names. And I can imagine they're going to be here any minute. Now, besides the earth-shattering Game Awards 2019 announcement that Phil Spencer, basically, he pulled a Sony hours before Sony's CES 2020 event. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean that he pulled a Sony? Well, all he did was change his picture to the, of course, Xbox Series X chip, and basically Twitter became a standstill. And all of the shine for Sony's event just completely was taken away. And it made it worse for them that all they did was do a PS5 reveal logo that anyone could have done. Now, obviously, and I think, Kid, I'm going to go to you next. I'm going to go to you first on this. We saw some folks having emergency streams to discuss where Sony has gone wrong. And it didn't stop there, Kid Smooth. We got the announcement earlier in the year that MLB The Show was being released on all consoles, and it was considered, in my opinion, a death blow to this list war shenanigans. And this week, it was announced that Sony would be skipping E3 2020, and that upset, of course, a lot of fans, including myself, who's going to E3, was hoping to attend the Sony conference, and unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Now, finally, to prove my point, Sony is spiraling out of control. One of Sony's biggest and in my personal favorites of this entire generation, Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC along with potentially more PlayStation 4/PlayStation 5 exclusives. Now, obviously, and I'm going to go right now to Kid Smooth, we're here to discuss what Phil Spencer and Microsoft need to do during this February during the event that's supposedly planned for them. And obviously, having Kid Smooth on tonight's show is why I decided to write this original topic. There's been a big change on how things are done at Microsoft. And Kid, you'll admit that there's a different kind of a swagger with Microsoft, but more specifically, Phil Spencer. There's kind of like a new and improved way of doing things, and it actually has been amazing for the mind share. So, my question to you, Kid Smooth, is now we know that Sony is doing this event in February. That's pretty much a guarantee. Now, whether it's going to be the 5th or the 16th, we don't know. The more leaks that come out there saying that it's going to be on the 5th. That's great. But my question to you is this. You have been very vocal about how Microsoft themselves have been doing all the right moves, and they have been doing things again, very Sony-like. Every chance that Sony puts something out, they're pulling a Sony, they're going for the gusto. In your opinion, from what being an Xbox fan, what do you think that Microsoft need to learn from this event and need to do in this alleged May reveal that we're hearing?
I don't know. They might have something planned. You got to think about how they did. You know, they jumped the gun with the Game Awards and being like the first to shoot. They kind of pretty much, if it wasn't for the Series X reveal, the Godfall reveal would have been like the biggest thing, right? For the Game Awards, had it not been for the Series X. And then CES, everybody by default, because of the Game Awards, just by default, just thought PlayStation would be doing like a legit like PS5 reveal, and that didn't quite happen. We got the logo, and then I think even Xbox was preparing for them to do some sort of legit reveal, because I think that's why they did the whole chip thingy, just to have it there, just to keep in everybody's mind. And the thing is, as we learned, you can do more with a picture of a next generation chip than you can with a logo. There was a lot of speculations going on with the chip, like, all right, how many transistors are on this thing? How big is this thing? Like, does this chip confirm the power? That's all everybody was doing when they did that. You can't really do anything with a PS5 logo, like a JPEG. So now, let's say they do actually the proper reveal on February 5th. How does Xbox combat that? It depends. Do they already have anything prepared? Is there a interview that they gave to IGN to reveal more information that's on the NDA for like February 6th? You know what I mean? Maybe they've already flown Richard Ledbetter out to demo a game, and then he has to upload a video on like February 7th. You know what I mean? Who knows? We don't know if that happened. So I think the best case scenario, PlayStation event happens, and then maybe they don't have anything prepared since they already shot first, because PlayStation has to catch up in terms of showing PlayStation 5 information versus the Xbox. So I think what happens is it will be similar to what happened after the Google Stadia events. I think Phil Spencer sent like this memo to like the xCloud team, and kind of just to remind everybody what's going on. I think with this, what's going to happen is we'll get like an announcement of a Xbox, a future reveal date. We'll get an announcement of when we can expect it. I think that's what would happen.
No, I mean that's a great point. I actually kind of like the way you're thinking, because obviously, listen, if you've been following the gaming media as close as many of us fine gamers on both this panel and of course in the chat, Sony themselves have done a fantastic job of reacting to what their competitors have done or are doing, and doing this has given them the market leader edge for countless generations. They did it against Nintendo. They did it against Sega. They've done it countless times against Microsoft, and it appears that Microsoft might have taken a page out of Sony's book and is kind of doing to them what they did to Microsoft. And right now, and again, listen, folks, I'm only going to speak how I'm feeling. I'm not jumping on the console war bandwagon, but even if you are a diehard Sony fan, and that is the only flag that you fly, you have to ask yourself a serious question. What is going on at Sony? Because right now, I understand that their first-party games are amazing. Hell, I own every freaking one of them. As a matter of fact, I buy all the collector's edition. I have almost a level 13 trophy score. Listen, I play my PlayStation 4, but it's only for the exclusives. But again, you have to ask yourself, are their backs to the wall? And I have to say that yes, I think their backs are to the wall, because Microsoft has been hitting bombs since post E3 2018. And it's just been one big announcement after another. Sure, do I want those single player, adult themed, graphically intense, story driven games like on the PlayStation that have to come over to the Xbox? Sure, of course I do. I think everybody on this panel does. And those are coming. But right now, I think that Sony's in a bit of trouble. Now, I want to go to Crispy Bomb on this. Now, obviously, we are talking Xbox. We're talking about what they need to do in this supposed reveal event. And here's the thing. I think that because Microsoft has been so aggressive in the last couple of months, closing out 2019 with that December 12th bomb at the Game Awards, right? We didn't get just one bomb. They got multiple A bombs dropped because you got to see the console, you got to see the controller, you got to see the new button on the controller, you got the name of the controller, and then we got to see Hellblade 2. Crazy. In your opinion, what do you want to see them do to keep this momentum going?
Thing is, stay the course. Right now, you have PlayStation reeling, and they're just like, okay, we have to change our narrative because it's not working now. And this is where we go and say we're at a point in time where there's a new generation of gamers coming in. And Microsoft, for once, usually is too far ahead. We saw it in 2013. They are too far ahead. This time, they are strategically placing themselves just far ahead enough that everybody else has got to catch up. And we all know Microsoft has always pushed innovation and everything else through either gaming on PC or anything else through their entire existence. Okay. They've always pushed everyone else to move forward. And they were reeling before Phil took over. And Phil, we've had a drought. And when the Game Awards hit and he knocked it out of the park, and he saw the reaction, and then he throws the chip up there, right before he knows that PlayStation is going to be all over that CES. You know what I mean? And you're just going to sit there and look at them and go, oh, yeah, you better reveal a console because now Phil's kind of like dropped this little Twitter bomb that you guys always do. So what I'm saying is stay the course. Whatever you got that we don't know about, keep it under wraps. Blow people's minds.
Yeah.
And when PlayStation drops whatever they got, I am sure at this point that Phil has a counter no matter what they do. And it might be price. It might be just having a better, a lower tier console, or, one that is almost on par with the PS5. I know we hear 4 teraflops, but the CPU has clearly become just as important, if not more important, in these consoles. So, who knows if they have a higher clock CPU than even the Series X has for those 4 teraflops, just to, be right there with them. Now, yes, we need those story-driven exclusives at some point, but you got to admit at this point that this is a place for all gamers, not just those story-driven gamers. You know what I mean? You can go on Game Pass, and if you are new to the Xbox ecosystem, you will find a game that you can get interested in, and you pay $1 at first, and then you could find out if you even want to have it or not. And now the entry point is so low with the Xbox SAD edition, which is still funny because, all digital is where Microsoft started pushing in 2013. And now it's kind of like, oh, okay, no big deal. Like if I really don't want to use a disc, I'll just buy that. So in general, they're trying to be the best console cell phone maker, because in the end, all they're thinking is we keep our interfaces kind of the same. Anybody that purchases a cell phone logically is going to purchase a cell phone for a few new, nuances that are involved in it. And then on top of it has more power and processing power and everything else. So in general, everybody could say, well, oh, there's a casual gamer. These casual gamers are becoming more knowledgeable about all of these little nuances in these consoles, because in the end, it's the same kind of ecosystem as a cell phone at this point. And we have to realize that this narrative of exclusivity is going to go away. And the reason why Xbox started doing this has to be because of Minecraft. Minecraft made them think differently. That purchase was a bold purchase at that time. And now it has paid them back tenfold. Okay. Yeah. And in the end, we have to realize that this is a business. They have to make money. And when Phil goes and says, well, Minecraft did this, his boss, Satya, could be like, we're gonna start doing stuff like this more. You know what I mean? You see Cuphead I'm gonna tell you, Cuphead on Switch is huge. You know what I mean? And yes, it's not technically an exclusive, but it really is. You know what I mean? Like they're still making money off of it.
Dude,
That's
can I add to that?
Please,
Sure.
by all means.
I think, like, for example, the purchase of like Minecraft allows them to do, like, let's say a mega let's just say, right? And I don't want to, like, flutter the podcast with BS, but let's just say there was an option to get like an EA or 2K or even ZeniMax, right? It will give them they could buy a studio, a publisher or an establishment that big. And obviously, there are some titles that they can keep multi-plat. You know what I mean? Like if you buy Take-Two or 2K, there's no way they'll keep that as multi-plat because they're not going to take that game off of other devices and stuff like that.
Right.
Or if EA became an option, obviously they can withhold like those IPs with the exception of like the Maddens and the FIFAs. Those you don't mind. Let those remain multi-plat because they're going to, in return, have the Minecraft effect.
Yep.
So, and I think it makes purchase. When I look at the Minecraft and these new rumors, it makes stuff like a Take-Two, a ZeniMax, or EA acquisition not too far-fetched.
Well, they have the market value to do it. You got to remember that they have a market value of what was it, like 1.27 trillion, or it might even be 2 trillion for that matter. I think maybe I'm underquoting them. They have the market the market capital to make a huge make a huge investment like that. The same way, and I'm glad you guys brought up the Minecraft thing. I kind of just want to touch on that for a second. Crispy, that was a great point. They have made their money back double by now on Minecraft sales. Minecraft is in the top 10 NPDs almost every month for years. So their investment has paid off. And again, we're hearing, and again, I don't have it as a topic because I want to do a little bit more background information on it. I know that Ryan McCaffrey was talking to oh my God! Who was he talking to? He was talking to some. I'm doing the research right now. He was talking to someone about how Microsoft could, in fact, be in the running to purchase ZeniMax. And what comes with that? Well, that comes with a lot of really cool games and IPs. And if that was in fact the case, man, Microsoft would be. They would.
I want to say something. Imagine Fallout 5
as an exclusive.
And made with Microsoft's money.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you would not get a broken Fallout 5. You would get a fully realized, graphically intense new engine built from the ground up because they have the money and now the backing and now the time. That would be insane.
And we have to realize that, Microsoft has a very good partnership with Epic. A lot of people don't realize this.
Yeah.
There's so many games that Microsoft makes that is running on Unreal. Okay. We've heard rumors of Unreal 5 a long time ago, and it never came to fruition. You know what I mean? And Epic's starting to like invest in like Steam-like qualities and this and that. So they're spending their money. But sometimes you need that little, backdoor, hey, here's a couple dollars here and there. Yeah, I mean, and they might be, Microsoft might start pushing Epic for that Unreal Engine 5. We don't know. You know what I mean? Because their Unreal Engine is very good. Every game that I've ever played in Unreal Engine, especially Unreal Engine 4, is very good. Even that what made Jedi Fallen Order, I think, different than every other Star Wars on EA. And I think that's a big deal. Like their partnerships with these third party or, these developers, even in engines, you know what I mean? That it just becomes a bigger deal because they have the clout and they have the money to say, hey, here's, you need a couple $1 million. You need $100 million to, help you, get to that point. All right, we'll throw you that, but we get, we want that technology immediately. We want to be the first ones to have it. And that's all they got to do.
No, I mean it's a great point, you know, and everyone has been really knocking it out of the park. Real quick, Shady, I want to get your opinion on this. I know you've been chopping at the bit, and I have a question to ask. But before I do, I have to thank Brian Ingram not only for becoming a channel member. So, dude, thank you so much for that. That is ultra cool. But he also drops a $5 super chat. And he says this: Sony got caught on their knees, and MS walked in on them and took a quick picture, begging not to tell the hardcore ponies. Well, listen, that we're going to get into how the hardcore fan base has been extremely vocal. And of course, Star-Lord 14 with the very generous and outrageous $10 super chat. He says Game Pass plus a new console launch is going to be huge. Newcomers can get new hardware with all of the Microsoft launch titles, plus an instant library for $15 a month, including XBL on day one. Talk about value. Yeah, that's a fantastic point, and I think that cannot be undersold how important that is. But Shady, here's my question to you. For someone that understands how you, and obviously you get into the trenches in social media, you're not afraid to rub elbows with the scumbags of the of the dark side. And in your opinion, what does Phil Spencer and Xbox need to do at this rumored Microsoft event taking place in April and May? How aggressive do they need to be? Do they go for the juggler?
I don't think they have to come out as hard as some people think, because unlike Sony, they're going to E3, which is only a few months later, and that has way more eyes on it than just a Microsoft-made reveal event. I mean, I'm sure millions will watch, but millions and millions more watch E3. Let's be real here. So they can drop this serious bombs, and I'm just talking like a gigantic hour-long string of game trailers, and I'll be happy there. But with their own reveal, I think they need to be extremely clear and concise with their messaging this time around. That's one of the big things that burned them this gen, was just no one knew what the hell was going on. Their messaging was all over the place. You got different answers from different executives depending on who was asking and what the time of day was. It was a mess. So they need to come out and just let everyone know this machine will play new gen games, Xbox One games, Xbox 360 games, Xbox original games. It's fully backwards compatible. Layout Game Pass, very simply for the layman gamer, the guy that's picking up the controller for the first time, perhaps. You just got to explain exactly what it is, how much it is, and what is in it. And the fact that all of your first-party titles, being all 15-plus development studios games, are going to be in there day and date for no additional cost. And with Game Pass Ultimate, it's looking like you get the ultimate versions of those games. They need, like Star-Lord there said, they need to hammer the value down here, especially if they're going to be more expensive. If they launch and both systems are $500, I mean, Xbox is already in the better looking light because it has, I'm assuming, of course, right now, the power. So if it's more expensive, though, they need to make sure that people know that, yes, we're an extra $100, let's say, but you don't need to buy a second controller. You can bring the one you have with you. You don't have to buy first-party titles. You're going to get Halo in the box because they're going to include, at the very least, a minimum 2 weeks of Game Pass, if not a month to 3 months, I would think.
I've heard, listen, you got to be careful when you report based on what you read on Reddit, what you read on 4chans. But I know that there has been a running theme that the pack-in is going to be a 3-month card for free once you buy the console.
I mean, that would be awesome. Like even 2 weeks. If you had 2 weeks of access to 200 games while you're in there, you also get 10 to 20% off all those games that are in there. So you play the ones that you enjoy, bounce around, find out the ones you like, and then maybe buy a couple later on, or you just subscribe to Game Pass from then on. Like at the least, they'll put in 2 weeks. At the least, they do that with every console now. So I'm willing to just go with that. 2 weeks guaranteed. Anything more than that is pure icing, gravy, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? But they need to be clear and concise with their messaging. They need to make sure that the people know that the value is there. Day one, you bring your old controllers with you. All the games you own currently for all 3 Xbox platforms all move forward with you day one. And Game Pass, basically, with all their games coming in day and date. Maybe reveal Halo at this event and save some of the surprises for E3, show people some gameplay of Halo. That would truly blow some minds. But with Sony not going to E3, they have to come out swinging hard at their reveal event. Like, they really do. They got to show everything first. And it's so not Sony's, in their playbook to be doing stuff like that. They normally go last at every event ever that they used to show up to anyways. And for them to go first like this, if they come out and really like, here's when it's launching, here's the cost, here's the system, here's what it looks like, here's the games, that's pretty serious. But having E3 as a backdrop, I think Microsoft just needs to be extremely clear, concise, straightforward with their messaging, nail the value aspect of it, show a couple games, Halo probably being one of them, maybe even a Forza, a third-party title. And that's really it, because this is a system reveal for Xbox. It's not an everything goes reveal like what Sony kind of has to do. So we'll see, man. I mean, Sony, it's weird. They're going to skip out on E3 and then right after saying, no offense to E3, but it's just not doing what we want to do. We're going to go up to over 100 events after that. Like, I can't name 10 events, let alone 100. So what, are they going to show up at my local mall? Hey, we got a Sony event in your local mall. Show up from 2 to 6. Get the hell out of here. I don't know what they're doing, but they got to come out pretty quick and start getting their messaging clear, especially if it's different, man, because their zealot fans are going absolutely psychotic. Guys are throwing PlayStations out the window. They're like taking back their pre-orders for games and everything. I just don't know what to say, man. They are reacting in a absolute ludicrous manner. So if Sony's changing, which I'm pretty sure they are, and we're going to see much more of their first party titles hitting PC, and it's going to get to the point where it's day and date. Consoles and PC are a totally different type of market. I think the days of forcing someone to buy a console that they, at the end of the day, don't want the console, they just want the few games. That's it. Those days are over. We can access these games just so much easier with the internet and today's technology. It's a different industry now, and Sony knows this. They've been speaking in such a way for almost a year. As much as they've been hiding and laying low, they've been saying changes are coming, and they honestly said PlayStation's a niche console. It's niche, and it is. Like, it really is. Everyone who has a PlayStation has one right now. It's about 106, 110 million tops, and that's kind of the people that want one. It's not like the PS2, where it was also a DVD player, and that was the other 50 million that it had, was just guys that wanted a cheap DVD player. We're not in that world anymore. So
right.
I don't know, man, but Xbox, I mean, they can't just take it easy for sure, but they need to be clear, concise, drop the stats, especially if they're higher. I mean, it's going to sound real nice if they're bigger numbers, even to the less tech savvy folk like myself. I know that 12 is bigger than 9. You know what I mean? So just be very clear. Show us a couple games. I think Halo would go well at the reveal of the console. It doesn't need to be at E3. Be at E3 again, even, doesn't matter. But they can wait, and I think can drop just nuclear bombs at E3 and do the damage there, really, and just be simple. Don't overdo it, and don't come out with everything and then just repeat yourself at E3. I think that'd be a bad move. That is taking something out of Sony's playbook.
Great point. Well, the one thing that I have to say, and that I'm very happy that Phil Spencer, you've heard this from Phil Spencer, you've heard this from Matt Booty. We haven't heard Aaron Greenberg talk about this yet, but I believe that again, there's a change in pace. They all seem to be on the same page. And what I mean by that is what Phil Spencer and Matt Booty reference numerous times in interviews is that every time they go to an event, they're going to show a new game. And according to Matt Booty, he said that they have so much in the pipeline that they're chomping at the bit to show these new games. And I am very excited to hear that, because that is one of the things that I think has been their Achilles heel, is not willing to show games too far out. And we've seen they kind of change that a little bit. Gaming Forte, I want to get your opinion, but before I do, I have to thank, first of all, Wilmy Hood once again proves that there is no more generous human being than him. I mean, a $50 super chat is unbelievable, and it is something that I don't know. I can only say thank you so many times, but I'm going to say it for the 1000th time. Thanks for being here, dude, but thank you for the generosity. He says this: bring them all to my PC. I'll be glad to play them there. And that's a great point, because and we're going to get into that later on, Wilmy. But, Gaming Forte, I am so glad that you're here. You made it for this topic, because being our inside man at GameStop, you get a chance to deal and work with the public. And in doing so, you get to see what I have seen. And I think that the public is not as dumb as people are really painting a picture. You got to remember, a couple of months ago, everyone was painting this very, very dark picture about, well, consumers are never going to know what the Xbox Series X is versus the Xbox One X. They're going to buy the wrong one, which is ridiculous. But for you, that you work, you obviously, people come and ask you questions. You sell a lot of consoles, you sell a lot of games in your store. I think that the public has gotten a little bit more savvy in the last couple of years, especially in this particular generation. So my question to you is this. This is a little bit different to a question that I gave everyone else. What do you think Microsoft needs to continue to do, and especially at this rumored April-May event, show the gamers that are on the fence about investing in the next generation, especially because they're potentially going to have 2 SKUs?
Man, so they really need to just, honestly, what they're doing now is perfect. They just need to double down on it. They need to go even deeper and even harder. Pause on that one, but they just need to continue the conversation that they've been having ever since basically October and November, with the Dell Telegram coming up in December when they announced the system on the Game Awards show. They need to be able to continue to wow their fans and really rile up that base. It's never been a secret that your base will be the ones that will propel your system, especially in the very beginning of launch times, because we're the early adopters. We're the ones that's going to beat the drum the hardest and try to get as many people in the ecosystem, not because we're just fanboying for the system, just because we enjoy games. And when it's just like YouTube and stuff like that. If you're not enjoying the content that you're making, the fans will know it. Your people will know it. And it kind of just puts a sour taste in everybody's mouth. So if they can continue to rile the base up the way they have been over the last couple of months and get us completely excited about the new systems and the whole no gamer left behind mantra, then they'll continue to, bring more and more people over from the other side of the line. And I've been saying this for a couple of weeks and months now. The difference between Xbox and Sony this generation is Sony just, was very optimistic, and they took advantage of all of the mistakes Microsoft made along the way. Yep. And they doubled down on those mistakes. Any mistake Microsoft made, they doubled down on that mistake and said, we aren't that. This is what we are. Now, Sony hasn't really made mistakes. They just basically been trying to hold firm to what they believe in with their system. But Microsoft is being more ultra aggressive this generation, pretty much like they were in the early 360 generations. And that's the thing that kind of turned off myself and a lot of other Xbox fans. Is like, we love the system, but ultimately it really just comes down to, what are you going to do to make us want to buy the system? Like, I'm not just a person. I'm not a number on a spreadsheet of a person that's going to go out and just buy your system nowadays. It's too many different options out there for you to have.
You have a really good PC, so
right?
Definitely,
And that's what I'm saying. It's like I said, I want to buy the system, but it's at a point now, like, it's so much competition out there, and you're giving me you're giving me reasons to play other places. Why should I play in your ecosystem, in like on the system versus the ecosystem that you've given to everybody else that wants to do it? And it starts with announcing surprising everybody at the Game Awards. It starts with Phil Spencer dropping the hammer and putting a picture of the SOE, the system on the chip, on his Twitter page, and basically saying, hey, we're not going to be at E3, at CES, but here's a nugget for you guys to see and analyze so you can see how many transistors and how much memory is on this thing. Things like that riles up the base, and it gets them excited. And guess what? They're going to continue to keep doing that. Sony not going to E3. Microsoft and Phil Spencer comes out, literally says, well, we're working real hard on our E3, and guess what? We're going to be there. They're doubling down on everything that Sony is saying, and that needs to be the conversation, because 106 million people or just individuals or just different people bought PlayStation 4s this generation. Microsoft pretty much lost a good 20 to 30 million people over the last generation because both systems were neck and neck.
Price
between
and power,
PS3.
right? Price and power.
Price and power. So I'm never going to say that Microsoft has a chance of winning like overall sales because I don't think Microsoft's in it for the console sales anymore. It's all about the services.
Yeah.
It's all about the services now. So Microsoft doesn't really care about that, where Sony still really does care about that. The whole situation with the games going to PC, I think that's going to be a legit thing that's going to happen over the course of the generation. Sometime during this generation, you probably will end up seeing those games go day and day because it's a copycat league. Microsoft made us pay for Xbox Live for the inception of it, and Sony stood back and said, hey, we're not going to do that to you guys on PS3. Our system is great. But then as soon as PS4 came around, they probably looked at everybody, was like, hey, these people are willing to give Microsoft all this money and not even complain about it. Guess what? We're going to do it too. And then they adopted what Microsoft was doing with PSN, with the PlayStation Network. So now you're going to see the same paradigm shift with all this other stuff that's happening with PlayStation over the course of the next generation. Slowly but surely, all these systems are going to become the same. And then it's just going to come down to the preference of what games you like to play. PC might be the ultimate place to play all of your games, but if you're a console fan, there's going to be a console for you to play your games on. And it really comes down to Microsoft really doubling down on a message that they've been giving gamers for the last 3 to 4 months. And if they do that, they will have a very, very successful, like I say, 360 type generation where they literally fight neck to neck when it comes to Sony for those sales in general.
You know, it's funny because, you know, the way things have been going with Microsoft. Here's a perfect example. When Sony announced they weren't going to E3, first of all, that nugget dropped days before, so we had an inkling that they weren't going to go again. Which again, you and I were going to be hanging out at E3 this year,
sir.
Along with the ILP. We're going to be Enrique from Basement Radio Arcade. You know, your buddy. So we're all going to get to meet in person. I was really looking forward to trying to get in to the Sony presser because I've never had a chance to experience that. So when I heard that they weren't going to attend, I was obviously disappointed because, folks, I understand that, you know, some people paint me as a bot. Where listen, folks, my trophies and stuff aren't hidden. You can see exactly what I've done and what I own.
Even if they were there, though, Boom, I mean, when they do go, I hear from guys that go every year that no one gets into Sony's show. It's all hand-picked fucking... Sorry,
it normally is,
controlled press.
It is very controlled, and I would have tried to get in as press. This is still a very, very tiny channel, so I don't think I would have gotten in anyway. But you know what? Just the idea that I could have had a chance. Now there's definitely no chance, but here's my point. Phil Spencer, the minute that this was officially announced by Sony, not based on a rumor, when Sony came out, he immediately took to Twitter to announce that Xbox would be fully represented at E3 2020, exciting the fan base even more. But what's great is what he said. And he said that we are going there to be with our fans. That's a big freaking deal. Now, I was going to actually end this particular topic, but I kind of, because we have people that were not here last week, I just want to bring it back around. And Kid Smooth, I want to get your opinion on something. This has kind of been bugging me. I see people in the chat. I see people on social media. I see, as Shady calls them, the zealots of the PlayStation brand. This drum that they continue to bang about no exclusives is the most not only preposterous thing. You have to understand how ignorant if you're going to beat this drum, and I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying that from just use your brain kind of a thinking. The fact that they're not willing, Microsoft, to leave their fan base behind, like Sony apparently is happy doing, and allowing that you're going to have all of these first-party games, and there's going to be quite a few of them that are going to be available to be played on your series, X and S, whatever the S turns out to be, and of course the Xbox One S and X. What are your opinions? Because I haven't seen you talk about it on Twitter unless I missed it. Do you find it to be ridiculous that even some of the bigger gaming media sites like the IGNs and the Kotakus and the GameSpots and a few others are running this exclusive nonsense?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, that's actually for Kid Smooth.
Oh, my bad. I stepped away to grab some soup. All right. My bad.
Give me some.
I'm assuming you're asking about the Xbox One and Xbox Series X.
No. What I'll do is this. I'll just kind of run the question. My question to you was, what is your personal opinion on how the media and some of the zealots, meaning the toxic community that continue to bang this drum about Microsoft not willing to leave their fan base behind and not have exclusives for the Series X and S? Do you find that to be as ridiculous as I do?
Yeah, I like, because it's pushing the narrative again. There's not really much to hit Xbox for, and they're coming up with things. So now where we're talking about like, oh, supporting your console for another year or two is now a bad thing. That like it's kind of ridiculous in actuality, when most in previous gens we've dealt with cross-gen gaming for quite a while. So this is not normal. It's just people forget is that they don't understand that Xbox Game Pass exists, and they're not going to separate Game Pass on each device. You know, there's Game Pass for PC, okay, yes, in beta, and the library is a little bit small, but there's not going to be a Game Pass for Xbox One and a Game Pass for Xbox Series X separately with different games in it. So that's one thing you got to consider. Like your games, you have to be able to have access to your games, and there's going to be games that drop for Xbox One and Xbox Series X that has to be in there. Now, the other thing that is a little stupid is that a lot of these studios that Microsoft had purchased in 2018, this was 2018. A lot of their games are coming out between 2020 and 2022. Yes. And those games were initially targeting PC and current gen Xbox. These games have already been in development. So it's not like these were games that were going to come out anyway.
Right.
So
that's a fantastic point that no one seems to be talking about.
Yeah, and I try to remind people when I see that stuff, but a lot of people are assuming like, no, because of this, like the Xbox Series, because of this, like there's not going to be like the Xbox isn't going to be able to get its max capacity, like as if that's ever happened in any gen within the first year. That's never happened. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you mind if I kind of interject real quick?
Yep.
It's so a lot of people forget like and this is not just anger from PlayStation. This is actually more anger from Xbox or Xbots, as I like to call them from time to time, is that the UWP platform, okay, which is very intricate software, has involved itself into the Xbox ecosystem on several occasions. Number one, we can play with PC gamers now. A lot of people forget this. This was not really truly possible before. All right. Number two, the UWP platform allows them to make PC quality games, and then mostly Microsoft will port them onto the consoles as long as it still has console-based, UI and everything else. So in general, a lot of people forget that PlayStation doesn't have all this technology. You're ignoring the fact that Sony it's been basically a hardware-based company, and it comes to TVs, everything else, for its entire lifespan. And any software they've ever made is at least somewhat failed. Okay. And I only say somewhat because some of them they still kick on, like PS Now, even though PS Now has way less gamers on it than Xbox Game Pass does. Yeah, a lot of people forget that. Okay, and yet they have 106 whatever million consoles, adopted by these gamers, and yet PS Now is basically untouched compared to what Game Pass has already done.
They still have under 2 million subscribers for 106 million consoles.
So that's
fact.
Less than 2%.
Yes.
So what I'm saying, and what I said earlier, is that Xbox, and I'm going to be honest. I mean, we could go to the chat, and I'm sure there's people going to say no. But if you are a multiplayer gamer, which console are you playing on? And that's where I go and say, okay, I get that, like me, I'm in my 30s. Boom, you're much older.
Mm-hmm.
It's smooth, not sure. I'm not sure about you, Shady, but there are a lot of gamers that are in their teens to 20s that don't understand not playing multiplayer. You know what I'm saying? And regardless of how we feel, because I'm going to tell you right now, I still want to play on PlayStation for a lot of these exclusives, but I also tend to always go back to the multiplayer, and I'm going to shut that PlayStation off and I'm going to turn on the multiplayer. And that is because in my lifetime, I have been a single child. I'm the only child in my family. And the fact is that I want to interact with people. And I've tried to interact with people on PlayStation, thanks to some of my friends or my roommate or whatever. And it is so difficult compared to Xbox. And you could sit here and tell me I'm lying, and that's fine. But that is my experience, because I have the same internet when I play my Xbox and play the PlayStation, and I can't do those interactions. And it's very difficult on their network. And like I've said 100 times, PlayStation has an open network compared to Xbox. And this is why they've gotten hacked 100 million times and everything else. This is why they're investing in Microsoft's Azure servers, because they need something that's stable. They bought servers years ago, way before Microsoft, and yet they reinvested in it on their competitor. This is something you have to realize, that they're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're saying we could still hold our own, we could still beat them out. But console sales don't make you a whole ton of money. The software, Microsoft.
That's a proven fact. What you're saying is a proven fact. Software is where the money is.
Yeah, the consoles are a gateway to sell said software. In the past, consoles sales, of course, were important because that was what your ecosystem was limited to. Sony's video game ecosystem is limited to the PlayStations. That is it. Up until recently, Xbox was limited to their consoles. Nintendo's ecosystem is just their consoles. Now, with streaming being an actual real life working thing, the ecosystem is now anyone with a good enough internet connection and a screen. Yes. So the ecosystem has expanded. So yes, consoles they still matter, but they don't matter nearly as much because that is no longer the only avenue these companies have to get the games to their audience anymore. So to say that it doesn't have any exclusive games, so the Xbox Series X console sales may suffer, that's fine, because people around the world with a phone and a good enough internet can now buy Microsoft games. They can buy their Call of Duties and Maddens and FIFAs and everything else, subscribe to Game Pass through their phone, through Microsoft, and Microsoft makes 30% off of every dollar. Right now on the PC, Microsoft doesn't sell Call of Duty. They don't sell FIFA. They don't sell those third-party titles. They sell first-party. That's it. That's the money they make off a PC. Consoles, they sell everything and make 30% off of every dollar.
There's a reason why Madden...
Xbox, same thing.
There's a reason why Madden...
Oh, thanks for saying that, Shady. That makes sense.
There's a reason why Madden is on xCloud right now. And it's not on Game Pass, not on anything else. It's on xCloud, though.
And it's free. There's 50 games for free if you're in that xCloud beta. You do not have to own that. You have access
Which
to.
runs amazing. I'm currently playing it. It's outstanding.
Like having their games available on the modern consoles, as well as future consoles, as well as PC, is just embracing the technology that is currently available and massively overnight expanding their ecosystem without the need to put a $500 barrier in front of people that may not want to spend it. Maybe you're a Sony diehard and we've heard their narrative. I'm not buying an Xbox because I have a PC. I'll play games there. Fine. Microsoft will make your money over there. They're fine with that. Same with anyone who wants to use xCloud. Every single game that launches with Microsoft will be on xCloud. It's going to be available everywhere. Sony will do the exact same thing. Locking games down to a single box is asinine in today's market, and these companies know it. They're here to make money at the end of the day, not friends. And by allowing anyone with a phone, a tablet, a computer, and a decent internet connection to buy your products is the way to go in the future. Consoles will always be here because, like everyone on this panel, we're console gamers primarily, and I'll always be one. But I don't want to buy 2 consoles, 3 consoles anymore because Sony has 5 to 8 games or so over the 5 to 6 year period. That's not enough for a second console anymore for me. And I'm glad that technology and the industry is embracing it in such a way that I can buy my favorite console that my friends have, that I enjoy the ecosystem, and then I can play the others' games via streaming or on PC natively. This is way better. It's more money for the companies to make more games. The console wars are over only because the industry is no longer looking that way. It's not the only way to get games to us anymore.
No, that's a great point. Kid Smooth, you want to add anything before I get to Gaming Forte?
Nah, get the Gaming Forte. I just wanted to compliment Shady for his saying like how Xbox only makes money off first party sold on PC, but they make money from every game sold on Xbox, which is that right alone is the reason why consoles aren't going anywhere. But
exactly, that's a great
and why they want to push xCloud, because they do sell third party through xCloud. Sony will sell their third party through their Azure server, whatever they call it, PlayStation now still, maybe, who knows. But if you can get into those ecosystems online and you're fine with it, they still make more money. Like Microsoft makes more money selling one copy of Call of Duty. They're making $20 off that one copy than they will selling one single console, just off of those 2 purchases alone.
Yeah.
And
so they want to sell games at the end of the day. The only reason they make consoles is that because that used to be the only way to get you games. It's not anymore.
And think about this. The government paid billions of dollars to get into Azure servers. So clearly our financial data, everything else is safe. Because
it's safe. Yeah, great point.
The government would not buy into it unless they were confirmed. You got a lot of smart people in the government. I'm sorry.
You got governments, and like the biggest business relies on Azure servers. They're some of the most reliable network that there is. You're secure, you're safe. It's fine. You don't have to worry about that type of stuff. Another reason Sony went there, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, well, obviously, again, that that harkens back to the hack of back in the days during the PS3 era, which was a disastrous for Sony. Gaming Forte, I want to get to, but I have to thank a couple of people. First of all, Starlord 14 drops an additional outstanding $10 super chat, and he says this: if Microsoft releases a $299.99 SKU packaged with Game Pass, I think we could see a 360 popularity reignited. Lockhart with a hefty CPU and HDD could carry a casual the whole gen for cheap. And that's a great point, and that's where they're going, and that's why it's important that they're releasing with this 2-pronged attack that I've been banging this drum for over a year. I said Lockhart was going to be Microsoft's Trojan horse. I even said this live on the air on one of my Xbox shows, that the Lockhart was actually more important, believe it or not, than the actual Xbox Series X, because the hardcore, the 12%, 15 if you want to push the envelope, all of us, we're all going to get our X's, right? We're going to be out of our mind excited to drop down $500 and get the most powerful console. But it's the casual audience that continues to push generation after generation, and the Sony 106 million generation is a perfect example of that. 85 plus million consoles of that 106 are casual gamers that bought it because it was the cool system, and while they were at work with their friends, the diehards told them, oh, this is the best system. It's got the better games. It's got the better power. There's no camera if you don't want it. And that's why it's sold. And listen, that's fact. But I also have to thank Pixelbit G with the $5 super chat. He says, correction on UWP. It isn't a port. It's a universal application. You code once and you can deploy on PC and Xbox with the same code package. Yeah, well, listen, that goes way over my head. And Paul Spencer with the $5 super chat. He says, boom, future topic, saving for the next gen would be saving for new TVs now to take full advantage and what TV tech would look like on these TVs. Yeah, listen, I bought a new TV this year and I saved up for it. I got a top of the line Samsung, and I had a crappy TV for a couple of years because I had this dark spot across the top. But like last year, it was either go to E3 or get a new TV, and I'd rather go to E3. So I just had to suck it up. But
real quick, Boom, I wanted to say I think it's odd that a fan base that constantly screams about sales wants a game to be locked down to a single brand new box that nobody owns. I mean, on the greatest launch month here, the thing's going to sell maybe 3 to 4 million.
Right.
So if it launches with a game that is only available on that box and every single person buys it, which is not going to happen. It's not going to be a Zelda over there. We know it. So what, this game's going to sell 1 million, 2 million tops? It's not a good look, and these companies know it too. They are like, hey, why wouldn't I sell it to the PS4 guys? There's 100 million of them, as well as the PS5. I don't know why everyone else in the world upgrades to a new console, but I do it because I want all my games to be better. 95% of everything at the beginning of the last 2 generations has been multi-gen. During the 360, we got a lot of crossover with the original Xbox and PS2. During this generation, we got a ton of crossover with the previous 360, PS3. I expect the same going forward. I don't buy it for a one game I can only access via the new console. I buy a new console because it's going to run every single new game insane. Assassin's Creed will look way better on the Series X than it will on your Xbox S. We all know this. Same with Halo, same with Forza, same with every single game. So that's why I buy it. And I just don't understand why the same people that champion sales every single day want a game to be locked down to a console that nobody owns yet. So this banger of a game can sell 1 or 2 million tops, and that's really it. And then it's still just a launch game. It's old now. By the time the console's up to 10 million, no one gives a shit about that old title anymore. So Sony needs to wait a long time before they start dropping their Spider-Mans and God of Wars and Bloodborne 2s and things like that. And a big if, they plan on locking their content down because they need the install base to be huge in order for their game sales to even come close to doing what they did this gen. When a game's doing 10 to 12 million off of 110 million install base, I mean, geez, man, they know they need to have a fat ass install base to drop exclusive games, and they don't have that day one, week one, month one, year one. They don't.
They may not have it for the first 2 years.
Exactly.
Especially
so I don't
the big ones. I'm not talking about the third party games like what Blue Point is supposedly making 2 killer apps as launch titles. One, of course, is rumored to be Demon Souls, and that's going to be big for that console because Demon Souls is very popular. But with that said, it's also a very niche title.
It is, and the budget can be lower because the hard work is done. The lore is there. The writing is there. The map has already been built out. You're just kind of upping the graphical quality and making it look and play better.
Right.
But like the big chunk of the work, the building of the lore and stuff, it's all done. So I think the budget would be lower so they could afford to sell less to begin with. But I think we're going to see less lockdown games across the board from every single company, Nintendo included.
Let's think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nintendo has been very, very coy, less than Sony, but they've also said that they're looking at other avenues of getting their games out and not just sticking to consoles.
Well, we hear exclusives, right? And what is the best exclusive that PlayStation has sold? It is Spider-Man, correct? It's like 15 million.
Yes,
okay.
It's over 15 million.
Tied to one
Think
of the
percentage of adoption rate. It is nothing.
Low. It's low, and it was included in a system. And let's be honest, PlayStation sells 1 million a month, give or take 100,000, right? Ish. So if you're going to include a game into the system for free, and it's already doing 800 to 1 million a month, big deal. So why wouldn't I buy a PlayStation if I'm gonna and just grab the one that comes with the free game? Even if I don't like Spider-Man, it's free. I'll sell it to somebody or trade it in somewhere or whatever. Like, I don't think bundled games give an honest picture of game sales at all. Otherwise, everyone bought the Wii for Wii Sports. That thing sold 60 million copies. Wii Sports. Come on, it was included for free in a console that people wanted for
yeah,
other
but that's
titles.
the one game that everybody still wants when they do.
I still play Wii Sports. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I know.
That's
Wii
the
bowling.
one game of all the Wii games that
That's the one that
everybody
the
still
geriatrics
wants.
are playing in their retirement homes, man. The bowling, I understand.
And when it comes to the PS4 with the Spider-Man bundle, that was only available 1 month.
Yeah, for the month, and it's sold out. So I'm like, it was a bit different. I think you had a lot of rebuys, guys that are just like, I want that new console. It looks good. That's fine. But like,
yeah, definitely.
I don't know, man. I don't
get
like bundled games going into console or actual game sales myself. It's kind of it's skewed because it's free. You're getting it free with a console you're going to buy anyways. Some people anyways, right? You do have those repeat buyers, of course.
Well, listen, let me get to Gaming Forte, and we'll close out this topic. I didn't expect to do this for an hour, but it is a big topic, and I wanted everyone to speak their piece comfortably. Gaming Forte, in your opinion, do you agree with Microsoft's move to allow a 1 to 2 year grace period and not leave their fan base behind, saying, "Hey, listen, if you have it," because that's my biggest thing is, what if little Johnny just upgraded to an Xbox One X and he got it for Christmas and he begged and pleaded. He did his chores. He took out the garbage. He ate his vegetables. Mom was like, you know what? This kid's a good kid. He's doing good in school. We're going to get him the X. We got a good deal on it. He gets the X.
Right.
How are you going to tell this kid he can't play Halo Infinite? What I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand how Sony could say that to their fans, and there are fans that are championing this shit. I don't get it. But do you think that this is the right move for Microsoft?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys this question. When did Microsoft ever come out and say at any point that Halo Infinite was exclusive to the new console?
Never, not even once.
Never once. What about any other game? Did he ever come out and say exclusive?
Nope.
All right. So for me, this seems like a mute point because Microsoft has always basically said that they're a family of consoles and we're taking everything forward. This is something they said 2-3 years ago. So ever since the X came out, they were saying that games are going to be playable across all the platforms. This is going to be a family of systems, and they're continuing that with the new system when it releases. So it's always a great thing to do. I agree with everybody saying that. I think the days of just having to leave people behind is completely over, just for the simple fact that hardware is so much closer to what PC is now, and PC never leaves people behind. You never leave anybody. You upgrade one piece of your PC, you can still play all those same games that you got. You might have to do some driver adjustments, but you still can play those games. So we're at a point now where games are ambiguous to the platform that we're playing on, and all you're doing is just doing incremental upgrades to the system. I understand why. I'm not gonna say I understand. I get why some people are kind of embraced and that they want the system to take advantage of the game and it only be on there because they're just being selfish. I mean, at one point we all were selfish gamers. I mean, I'm a selfish gamer. I want my games to look as incredible as they can be. That's why I'm going to buy the Series S Xbox when it releases, because that's going to be the best option for me when it comes to playing my games on console for Xbox. You know, when Ashton Luca boots up Destiny and says, hey, jump over here and do this Crucible match with me, I'm not going to be like, oh man, I don't want to play Destiny at 30 frames per second today. I'll be like, oh, sure, I'll play at 60 frames per second. I ain't got no problem jumping on Xbox. Let's go. You know, that's what I'm doing it for, to keep up with the ecosystem that I always love, the friends I always care about, and that's why I'm buying the system. You know, Microsoft made it easy for me to play my games anywhere, so it doesn't freaking matter. Now, when it comes back to Sony's situation, look, the thing with them is they have their story is still being written for this generation. They have 3 out of the 4 games they have coming out this year that are exclusive to their platform, with what is it? Final Fantasy being one for a year.
Yeah.
They still have those games still coming out this year. You know, I think that's why they don't talk a lot about what PS5 is coming out, because they still have stuff in the burner for PS4. You know, they still got Final Fantasy in April. They still got Ghost of Tsushima at the end of the summer, and they got Last of Us coming out in May. So their carryover, all those games are going to be carryovers from PS4 to PS5. We already know that's going to be the conversation. So their conversation is going to be like, you can still move these games with you, and that's fine. Now, games like Godfall and stuff being exclusive to the system, I don't get that, because you can they put out the recommended specs for that game on PC, and it's a freaking 1060. I'm like, what the heck? That your next gen system, a 1060? I mean, you can run anything on a 1060 pretty much. But, you know, with that being said, it really does not bother me to allow other people to play the games that they spent their hard-earned money on. There's people that went out and bought, like I put out a tweet over the holiday. People went out and got Xbox One X's for $249.
No, yeah,
$249.
Yeah.
So what am I going to tell those people that, hey, the system you just bought is irrelevant now? No, I mean, dude, that system's going to last you as long as you want. And it comes back to Microsoft's giving you the option. If you want to play here, you can play here. If you want the latest and greatest, upgrade that and get you a 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 4K gaming. Some indie games running at 8K, because that's pretty much all I see running at 8K of anything. But that is going to be the narrative. The people that want the power, the system's going to be there for you. For everybody else, the Lockhart or whatever the version the series they're going to call that is going to be there for you. And guess what? Some people think they're going to phase out the X. I don't think the X is going to get phased out this year. No. I think by next holiday, you won't see the X. But I think this holiday, the X is going to be that lower end system. They already showed the propensity to drop it to $250. Don't be surprised if you can get an X for $200 to $150 over the holiday, and then the Lockhart comes up the back end at that $299 price point for those people that want to get a little bit more power than the system gives them before. So it's all about options, and Microsoft's in the driving seat when it comes to that. And I wish Sony did the same thing, but they still believe in hardware sales, where some Microsoft stopped believing in that years ago.
No, I absolutely agree. Well, listen, this has been an incredible topic. This has been, I mean, from start to finish, I have to say that I'm very happy with everyone's opinions. I think everyone really brought their A game for this particular first topic that took an hour and 11 minutes. So thank you guys so much for that. I want to move on to the next topic, and I think that this is going to be a salty one as well. Now, obviously, the running narrative from a lot of hardcore PlayStation gamers is that Sony has basically sold out. This is what I've read. We've heard about emergency streams. We've heard about Sony. I've actually read some guy that said that greatness is officially over. All kinds of craziness. Now, and if maybe you're not hip as to what is going on, it appears that Sony is making a shift in their ideology when it comes to their first-party software. And obviously, this is something that has been rumored to be happening. We saw something in the form of MLB The Show becoming multi-plat. A lot of people lost their shit over that, right? And it really wasn't Sony's decision. It really was Major League Baseball's decision. I think they kind of made them make it a multi-plat because they just weren't selling enough copies, to justify keeping that franchise around. And granted, that franchise is the best baseball in town. It was unfortunate that for almost well over a decade, it might be 2 decades, that it was only on a PlayStation console and that no one else could get Major League Baseball. And I think that the numbers weren't there. Well, it was brought to everyone's attention that Horizon Zero Dawn is officially coming to PC. Now, some will argue and say, well, just a second there, Boom. That game is 3 years old. And I would say I understand that. But it's also a big AAA exclusive that you could only have played on your PlayStation 4. Now, I have championed that game. I cannot wait for Horizon Zero Dawn 2. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Now, this is something that all the Sony console war fighters have been wearing their badge of honor for years about how the Sony first-party games are exclusive to the console. And listen, I'm not going to take anything away from it for good reason. Okay, Naughty Dog's epic survival adventure, obviously known that as one of their biggest franchises, is also rumored to be coming to PC, and that it literally took Twitter by storm. Now, how do we come to this deduction, right? Well, The Last of Us 2 is going to be, without a doubt, one of 2020's biggest games. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I loved the first one. I think the second one is going to be probably some of the best work Naughty Dog has ever done. And what's interesting is, thanks to an article that was written and published by Jack of All Controllers, more information has been leaked out that particular game, The Last of Us 2, is apparently going to be on PC as well. Now, we don't think that it's going to, based on the article, be a day and date thing, only because right now, as the article states, Naughty Dog is looking for a graphics programmer, and they're hoping that person knows something about NVIDIA. Oh my God, I can't believe I mispronounced it. NVIDIA CUDA, or PC programming that uses DirectX 12 experience, is a plus as well. Now, these are the qualifications that Naughty Dog is looking for, and what programming experience they need to have in order to qualify for the position. Thorough understanding of current GPU architectures, AMD, GCN, and NVIDIA CUDA. Experience with DirectX 12, Vulkan, or other modern graphics or compute APIs, and console or PC programming experience. Now, here's the thing. When you hear all of this jargon, it may not mean a lot to someone that doesn't understand. But if you have an inkling as to what is being said here, and you are savvy to what goes on to making these consoles and these games work on PC and these consoles, it clearly states that they are looking to push the envelope and potentially move this particular game onto PC. Now, we don't know when. It's not going to be 3 years like Horizon Zero Dawn, I can assure you, because again, like we said earlier in the program, software sales matter. I want to go to Crispy Bomb first on this, because I hear you chomping. You literally want to jump through the microphone when you hear all of this. And again, this is now starting to make the rounds on some of the bigger sites. Jack of All Controllers has broken the story first. What are your thoughts about their games going to PC? And is there a potential to be day and date in future releases?
Absolutely, there is. I mean, we have to acknowledge the fact that, they have to make money. I mean, we're not sitting here with trillions of dollars like Microsoft has, okay? But the thing is DirectX 12 is owned by Microsoft, by the way. Just let people know. So when you see that is the highlight of the whole thing, okay? Because so many devs and so many engine drivers use DirectX 12 to make their games run better. All right. It has been put into the Xbox One X. That's what made it even better than we even thought it would be. And a lot of people ignore these things. They just ignore that Microsoft has their hand in so many things. They say, okay, PlayStation, you're going to do this. That's cool. We're good with that. You're still paying us money. You don't know it, maybe, but you're paying us money.
Yeah.
And these are the things that, the one thing I love is that, yes, Microsoft's a huge corporation, but Phil Spencer's a gamer, and he wants everybody to be able to play the games they want to. And a lot of people ignore this. Okay, he has said that this is probably one narrative that you cannot take away from that man. All right, because he has changed up a couple times, but in the end, That man wants everybody to play the games they want to, okay? Because he knows in the end, the software that's involved in Microsoft is going to probably power whatever they want to do. And being on PC is the problem that everybody in the PlayStation community has, because PlayStation is not known for their PC. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the problem that we had is we weren't used to the narrative of Xbox going PC. And everybody brings up mouse and keyboard, this and that, all these things. Okay. I play Gears 5. Everybody says you can't play Gears 5 without mouse and keyboard. Well, guess what? Number one, I usually own people that play on mouse and keyboard. Just telling you. Number two, if they are good enough on mouse and keyboard, I give them respect. You know, and that's the way I am as a gamer. I say, okay, you can do that. I can't. But that's my mentality. And on top of that, I still get a much larger player base because of this thing. Because of them saying, oh, you know what? As long as you say, okay, you can play, you know, oh, I'm good with playing with PC players. And they give you that option. They give you that option. Like, a lot of people ignore the fact that they do. Now, if you're going to play a quick game or whatever, like, you can leave if you don't like it. Like, I just don't understand where the narrative goes, where it's like, but then on top of it, they go and say, oh, well, what's the problem with it being on PC if it's a single player exclusive that Sony puts out? Excuse me? What's the problem? So that PC player wants to play single player somewhere else? I mean, even in Death Stranding, for example, because everybody says, oh, you can put this here and it will put, you know, do something for somebody else's game. That's cool. But guess what? It's not affecting your game, really. You can walk away from it, or you can say, I'm done, or I'm going to go around it because, you know, it's a walking simulator. You know what I mean?
At this late in the gen, man, I don't think it's in Sony's best interest to have their exclusives locked down to just the PS4. The gen's over. New consoles are dropping in 10 months. If anyone wants a PlayStation 4, they've gone to the store and picked one up for $200 or less, even less used. They've got one. So I think this is coming day one on PC, because Last of Us 2 isn't selling PlayStations anymore. It's not. Neither is Ghost of Tsushima. It's
what did I say?
PS4s,
their biggest exclusive is Spider-Man, correct?
It is.
Yeah. And that's because of the Marvel clout, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so people love Spider-Man. They play Spider-Man. All right, Last of Us didn't freaking gangbusters sell out the water compared to the amount of consoles they sold.
No, but it still did 14 million. It has a lot, but like this late into the gen with a saturation level like Sony's being up there, 106 plus million consoles, the market is saturated with PlayStations. Everyone who wants one has one. These games, no matter how amazing they are, aren't selling a console. And if they do, they're only selling the console for that one game. It's that guy that's like, fuck it, man. I need that game, that one game. I'll buy it and get the one game. So Sony makes next to nothing off that dude. They would rather open it up to the PC market of 100 million plus, and day one, when the game is hot off the presses and everyone's playing it, when this thing gets tens across the board, they want those PC guys pre-ordering and buying. So I'm thinking this is day one on PC and PlayStation. This late in the gen, it makes way more financial sense for them to be doing so, because these games are no longer selling millions of consoles. It's way too late in the gen.
Do you know what I go back to? They need to understand how to develop at the highest tier. And a lot of people don't realize this. Gears 1, and yes, I went back to Gears, people. Yeah, I did. Gears 1 came out on the 360 era. Okay. And they released 3 years later the PC port for it. Microsoft is not ignoring the fact that if you played Gears 1 on Xbox 360 or the PC experience was totally different. And it sucked at first. But I've heard people that went into it way after, a year later after that, and they said it was one of the greatest things he ever had. You know what I mean? Because in the end, Microsoft has always been thinking about let's make the highest tier we can.
Yeah.
Let's make the highest tier we can. And that was PC, and it's always been PC. Okay. And then let's port it into our systems. And they might not have said, oh, you got to do this or you got to do that on Twitter or whatever else, but they were doing it behind the scenes. Let's not ignore that. They're not stupid. And you know what? Instead of sitting there and saying you have to do this or you have to do that to play on our console like they did in 2013, they're going to say, okay, you know what? You're going to have the best experience on the Series X. And in the end, all that matters is that we already made it on PC at the highest specs.
Even then, they go lower than the console specs. Like Sea of Thieves, they came out and said, we have a spec for those low-end PCs that's running like 20 frames.
40p.
Yeah, like brutal, like wait, sub 720, 22 frames or something crazy like that. And people were just like, why would you do that? It's because there's a lot of casual gamers that don't care about those things. They just want to play the game on the system or PC that they already have on their desk. And that's it. Asking them to spend any more than that game purchase is asking too much out of them. So Microsoft not only tunes their games way up for the hardcore PC rig owning motherfuckers, but they bring it way down for the potato rig dudes, man. The guys that are trying to play it on a calculator. It's like, hey, you want to play Sea of Thieves on your calculator? We got a version for you. Because at the end of the day,
TI-83, baby.
Right, like all these companies exist to sell video games. The only reason they make a console is to get something in your house that can play video games. Now, almost anything can play video games, so they're selling it on almost anything. It just makes sense. The old way is dead. The new way is here. Like, embrace it and play as many games as you can with services today for cheaper than ever. Like, this is the best time of all time to be a gamer, and I've been gaming for almost 40 years. Man.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Well, Crispy, once again, dude, that was a fantastic representation of the particular topic. Anything you'd like to add before we move on to Kid Smooth?
No, I want to hear everybody else.
Okay, excellent. Well, you did a magnificent job. Kid Smooth, I want to get your opinion on this because you've been very vocal about this. And I think that people, like Shady was just saying, have to understand that this is not going to be the same looking generation with a different number attached to it. This is going to be an entirely new way of looking and thinking and selling and playing games, simply because streaming is not a forethought anymore. It is a reality. It is a big reality. What are your thoughts on the potential of, and again, we don't know this is going to be a fact, folks. This is until Sony comes out and confirms it, like they did with with Horizon Zero Dawn. We're going to say this is a rumor, but again, if they did it with Horizon Zero Dawn, and obviously Cory Barlog has said publicly he would love to get God of War on PC, and now we're hearing this. What are your thoughts on the potential of The Last of Us 2 releasing day and date with the PC?
I don't know if the single player, the base game will, but I do believe their multiplayer function will be like a PC, PS5, PS4 release this fall. So, but what do I think of it? It's more so, it's like, it doesn't matter what do I think. It's what the PlayStation guys think of it, because I've been beaten to death for the last 5 years. Ever since when Xbox went full blown play anywhere. And I mean, every game since then, I've been like teased and memed and comments on the YouTube video. So at this point, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm just looking forward to see how the others react to this. You know, I'll ask every once in a while, hey, is it worth it to buy a PlayStation since all the games are on PC? I mean, what's the point of having a PlayStation? I'll ask that maybe every now and then. But I do think the multiplayer, a standalone multiplayer game will be going to PC. I actually got questions about that, of how they're going to price that. But I think that will be going to PC. It's just more so like what it would do, pretty much how I feel. I feel like it erases this whole the whole exclusive conversation, the whole like Xbox game, you know how everybody considers Xbox games multi-plat. That just goes out the window. It should never be a topic in a gaming discussion.
I agree.
Like, you know what I mean? That just goes completely away. Now we have to start. It has to be another narrative that will get brought up, because no sense of arguing at that point. Is no even sense of arguing who has the better games at that point.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I agree. I think that, you know, again, software sales matter. They mattered years ago when you had, you know, Nintendo does what, Sega does what Nintendo don't, right? Software sales mattered. Software mattered in just about every generation. I think it matters more now than ever, simply because these games cost so much money. I mean, they're on the verge of spending what you would, on a game, what they would spend on a feature film, and they have to make this money back. And the only way that they can make this money back is by allowing other players to play their game. And, obviously, The Last of Us 2 is probably going to sell in the first week 3 million, 4 million. It's going to be, because there are a lot of games. It's been delayed a couple of times, and there are a lot of folks looking forward to that game. It's going to be great. But I think the fact that if in fact this rumor does come to fruition, and we do start seeing more first-party exclusive PlayStation titles on the PC, it's going to allow for Sony to reinvest that extra money that was not there previously. I want to go to Gaming Forte. Gaming Forte, when you hear, obviously you and Enrique, who's very, very vocal about being, a major drum banger, being a part of the PC Master Race. And obviously he spent some bucks to make sure that his experience was to the best of the ability of his wallet. And from what I understand, his rig is pretty nice. And obviously he plays Destiny there. He plays a lot of the Xbox games there. And now there's going to be a question. Does this PC Master Race gamer have to buy a PlayStation 5? Does he need to spend the $399 or $499 when his rig is going to outpower the PS5 by leaps and bounds, and with the potential of something like The Last of Us 2 being on that PC? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh man, one system to rule them all. Oh man, that'd be great. Look, man, let's I'm gonna tell you something. This is probably the first time in a long time that you're gonna hear me be super crazy opinionated about people's feelings when it comes to stuff like this. Overall, I feel like if you have a problem with something like this, you're not a true fan. You're not a fan. And the reason I say that is because a fan wants what's best for the company or the team that they're rooting for to succeed at the highest level. Putting your games in other places, I understand not wanting to put them on Xbox because you're a direct competitor, but somewhere like PC where you could just get extra dollars just by just putting those games out into a way bigger ecosystem. PC gaming is around 200 million, double what the console market is. I would think that's a win-win.
Of course it is.
If you feel, and Kid Smooth will understand, he'll appreciate this analogy. We're both huge Patriot fans. Huge. In 2001, I never had a favorite team. The Patriots became my favorite team because Tom Brady went to that team. He was the quarterback for Michigan. I live in Michigan. I'm a huge Michigan Wolverine fan. When that man took that team to the Super Bowl, I was like, this is going to be the team that I'm going to be rooting for. Didn't know anything about it, just like Tom Brady, so I rooted for him. In 2007, when they were undefeated and lost that Super Bowl in that lucky throw, I was devastated. And that was the first time my wife looked at me and was like, are you okay? And literally, no BS, a tear came down my eye at the end of that game. And at that moment in 2007, I identified myself as a true Patriot fan. And ever since then, I am a fan. And guess what happened? It was happening this year. Tom Brady might not even be the quarterback of the Patriots next year. But guess what? If he's not our quarterback next year, I'm still gonna be a Patriot fan, no matter what.
It was that cheer that you knew. Wait a minute, I'm a real fan.
Look, screw those Chiefs, man. They gonna lose in the Super Bowl to the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G should have been our quarterback. Enough said on that. But overall, that for me, that's what I consider you being a fan. No matter what happens on your favorite platform or your favorite team, you are a fan of that. It's not about anything else. And if you have a hard on to say these games are so precious to me, they have to stay on this platform, I'm the only one that can enjoy these games, that's asinine to me. That's super asinine to me because you're not doing gaming. It's all about gaming. Just like the Patriots not going to the Super Bowl, it's all about making the NFL better. People want to see other teams in there. I don't like it, but guess what? I'm not going to be mad about it. So if Sony was to put their games on PC and have PC gamers enjoy those games and get a bigger piece of a pie that they normally won't get, you as a PlayStation fan should not be upset about that, because guess what? If they sell 20 million copies of a game on PC, where's that money going? Yes,
Back right into Sony.
They're giving a cut to Steam or to Epic or wherever the game is going. But guess what? The other 60% of that cut is going right back into their first party studios, and they're going to be able to make you more games. And guess what? Maybe it won't just be a game every other year. Like they said, we're going to cut back our first party production because we're going to make bigger and better games, but we're going to make less of them. If they put them everywhere, you might have an opportunity to get those same games, but at a more frequent cadence, because they're getting more money back in return. That's where I think Microsoft is ahead of the curve with this whole thing. Granted, they're doing it because they were forced to do it because they weren't selling enough software. And guess what? Smart companies, Microsoft's a $1 trillion company, thought about it, was like, hey, let's put our games everywhere and see what happens. And guess what? It's paying dividends to them right now. Sony, it's only a matter of time until they're going to follow suit on this, because no one wants to leave money on the cutting room floor. And as long as gamers are willing to play those games anywhere, PC fans are very, very fickle. They will wait a whole calendar year before they buy a game. Look, Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto are true examples of that. PC gamers did not go out and buy PS4s or Xbox Ones to play Grand Theft Auto or what's in there. Some people did, but a lot of those people waited till they came to PC. So if you just put those games there from the beginning, you're going to be in a win-win situation. So ultimately, that's what it really comes down to. Don't be a fanboy and a protector of stuff that isn't even yours. Allow other people to enjoy the freaking game, because that's all gaming is, fun. And if you can't have fun playing your games and understand that they're making money by doing what they're doing, then I feel sorry for you, because that's ultimately what we're playing games for, is for them to have a better experience in making those games for us.
Agreed, man. These guys act as if they've been invited into an exclusive group to own a PlayStation 4. It's like, it's on the store. You can just save up some cash and go and buy it. That's, I don't know where they're going to get theirs, but that's how we got ours. It just was there and we bought one. There was no exclusivity. I didn't have to flash some card, didn't need a special handshake, nothing. So they act as like, my console, our brand. I'm like, I don't speak that way about Xbox. I enjoy the brand because they offer me consumer-friendly options and games I enjoy to play. And my friends play on there. Like it comes down to those types of things, like how the controller feels and stuff. I don't think Microsoft was ever forced either. They're doing this because the ecosystem is bigger than just consoles, and Sony knows it as well. And they're going to be expanding.
And that is the biggest thing people don't get, because overall, I, just like you said, there was a time that I picked there's a reason I picked Xbox over PlayStation. The thing is, we all grew up with all these systems. We all had NESs, and we moved on from NES to probably PlayStation, because PlayStation was out before Xbox. But ultimately, there was something about the original Xbox or the 360, whenever you jumped in, that made you flip from being a person that wanted to play on your PlayStation to wanting to play on your Xbox. And me, Xbox Live was the number one thing. Yes, PlayStation had online, but it was nothing compared to Xbox Live. I enjoyed the controller way more than a PlayStation controller. I like the offset thumbsticks versus the inline ones. That is something I will never get over when it comes to the console side of it. So for me, that's what I appreciate that Microsoft brought to it. And that's why I kind of stick in that ecosystem. And then over 17 years of being on it, you get a bunch of relationships with friends. I got over 800 people on my friends list. Most of those people I never met a day in my life. And guess what? I still have the original 100 people that when Microsoft had a cap on you, they're still on my friends list. And guess what? I see at least 80% of them every day on my friends list, and I still talk to a lot of them. That is called an ecosystem to me. And that's what Microsoft gave me.
I know a lot of people are afraid that without exclusives, your console, these companies' consoles are going to sell less. And that will likely happen because they're all going to be streaming to any device. Xbox is xCloud, PlayStation is PS Now, through Azure in the future, and they will sell less consoles, but they don't care because the console is no longer the corporation's only method of getting you these games. So it doesn't matter. It's okay if they sell less consoles because that means more people are just chose another avenue to play their titles. It's fine. They don't have to risk manufacturing and shipping and storing a box that someone may or may not buy at the end of the day. It's all good if less consoles get sold. It just means that more people have chosen other ways to play the games. Streaming is going to be huge. When 5G starts getting blanketed across the Americas, all over Europe, my God, India with its billion plus consumers, China and stuff, it is going to be nuts. The game sales are going to be exponentially bigger than we've ever seen. And that's a good thing. That means more money for everyone involved. That's cool. I don't like to pocket watch. It just means more games for us, likely not locked behind walls that we don't want to have to climb or dig under or smash our way through with cash. This is going to be a great thing. The future is so bright as a gamer. To worry about an old business model of just console sales, I think is foolish. It's not a worry anymore. The companies that own these consoles that make them, they're not worried about it. I'll tell you that. They're more worried about getting as many people on this planet as they can into their ecosystem, and it's not just consoles anymore.
And the last thing I'll say, because you just brought up a really good point about the pocket watching and stuff. I know people get real irritated when people say, well, why do you care how much money Microsoft makes on the back end? All they're doing is, but they're devaluing their system by doing it. But guess what? The reason I want them to do stuff like this is because it benefits me as a gamer later on. Because if they're making more money by doing something that will help them do it, our games are going to get better. People are going to say, no, how you know they're just going to put it towards other things? I don't care what they put it towards. It's still going to make gaming better. You think as much as we hate the Kinect now, the Kinect happened because they were making hand over fist money over the 360 with their attach rate on games. So it was a net benefit for a lot of people. And guess what? PlayStation is going to do the same thing because they got a 9-to-1 attach rate on every system sold out there. And they're going to be doing the same thing. Switch is even way crazier because they're 12-to-1. So
it's funny when you say devalue your system. It's like they're going to devalue their console while at the same time expanding their ecosystem. So it's like, more people can play in different ways, so they don't need the console. So yes, the console may have less immediate value, especially as a secondary console, right? To a PlayStation guy or a Nintendo guy, they might be looking at it like, I can get what they have on offer on a PC, so I don't need it. I always speak from what's a secondary console have to offer me, and that's when exclusives come into play. When your very first and only console is being talked about, it's controller, it's where your friends play, it's price, it's services on offer, it's all those things combined, exclusives included. But they're not the only thing when it comes to my main only console. They're the only thing with a secondary console. I just don't want that secondary console anymore, and we don't need it.
Let me ask you this, Shady. Do you think would you say it devalues your opinion of buying games if they're saving you $600 to $500?
No, see, that's crazy. No,
see, to me, I look at it as a situation. It's like they're saying they're devaluing it because you're buying your games everywhere. I'm looking at it like, really? You consider that devalue? I feel like Microsoft is saving me money. I
saved hundreds this year.
I ain't got to go out and spend $500. I ain't got to go out and spend $300 to $400. Like, perfect example, before all these delayed March and April happened, we were looking at a good $200 to $300 out of our pockets, and all those games got delayed out. Thank God. But if it ultimately came down to it, most of us would do that. But when it comes to Game Pass and stuff like that, Microsoft is literally giving you a staple of games that you can play for X amount of dollars a month, and I feel like that's a benefit because I can play them wherever I want, and that's the number one thing that people keep missing.
If you take a big AAA game on one side and you go, this one's $60, and then another big AAA game on the other side and say this one's $5, and ask someone which is the better value, anyone on this planet's going to go the AAA for $5. You're getting way more for your $5. Yeah, correct. So all of a sudden, doing that is devaluing games that people just aren't thinking. They're lashing out, desperately trying to make something that is good for the customer seem bad. Right. I don't understand. I just really don't. I would hope that as a gamer, people would want their brand of choice to be following suit and giving them the option to access content for much, much less as an option, of course. And that's all it is. I think Xbox is in a great position here, guys. I think Sony is in a transitionary position, and they're going to come out looking much better than they are now. Right now, they're a gigantic walled castle. They've done very well for themselves over the last 25 years. But the industry is changing, and if they don't change with it, they are going to become the next Blockbuster shaking hands in hell. You know what I'm saying? They need to change, and they are going to. You can see it. Their top brass has all moved on or shifted in the company, all of them. So something is happening. They've gone silent for a year and a half. Their exclusives are starting to play peekaboo on PC now. This is all good stuff. Will there be less PlayStation sold at the end of the day? Maybe, but that's only because more people have chosen to access their content via PC or streaming in the future, and everyone's brand is going to flourish. I'm happy to be a gamer. I'm just tired of dealing with clueless fanboys on both sides, all sides.
No, that's a great point. Well, listen, this has been another fantastic topic, and obviously we do have time for one more, and I kind of want to just jump right into that, and I'll bring it up on the screen to show everybody what we're going to be talking about. Now, this is a story that you're only going to find on Double Barrel Gaming because, quite frankly, no one really gave a shit about the Order 1886. I did. I thought it was an amazing game. Yes, it had its issues, but my God, it's still graphically one of the best looking titles on the PlayStation 4. As a matter of fact, the story is so deep and had so much potential that some gameplay fixes could have made this a game that we would still be talking about. Well, new details have risen that the Order 1888, the Order 1886 sequel could be headed to the PlayStation 5 and get this, folks, the Xbox Series X. Now, I'm going to break down exactly how that's going to happen. Now, I had this story out of order, and I want to go to this immediately. Before the PlayStation fanatics come out of the woodwork, on the Sony Defense Force mode, on how Sony owns the rights to the Order 1886, I will say there are two ways the PlayStation exclusive releases on the Xbox Series X and PS5. Now, here's the first one. Ready at Dawn could have potentially purchased the IP from Sony, who felt it wasn't worth keeping because they had no intention of doing anything with the IP because of the poor reception as well as the critical response from the community as well as the gaming media. And here is the second one, and this is also a possibility. The rights agreement expired, and so SIE did not renew ownership of the IP that was released in 2015. So now we're talking 5 years later. So it is potentially back at Ready at Dawn. So let me go back to the top of this now. In a story pulled from Games Radar, developer Ready at Dawn has confirmed that it is in fact working on a AAA console game. It hasn't said anything specific about the Order 1887 sequel that has been rumored for years. They have discussed in the past of wanting to continue the story with the Order 1887, and considering how big of a fan I was of the Order 1886, I am super stoked to not only talk about this, but have it as a topic in tonight's show. Now, a new leak from a NeoGAF poster who previously nailed most of the details on the PlayStation 4 Pro reveal several months before it officially announced in September of 2016 hints towards the possibility. Now, his name is Osiris Black, and he has some details that make the alleged PS5 and Xbox Series X game more difficult to identify, but he dropped a few riddle-like teasers that pointed towards the Order 1887. Now, in short, the alleged gameplay trailer shows a man with a shoulder-mounted light device surveying a dim room, then firing on and fleeing from a yellow-eyed, many-armed creature. The monster taunts him from behind the door, almost singing the words, "I have found you," before the game's title appears on the screen and the trailer ends. Now, Osiris Black says most of what they were shown was live gameplay rather than a cutscene, and specifically called at the lighting and physics as being on another level. Okay, so now I want to go into now here's the thing. I just want to, before I get into the actual questions to the panel. Now, the Series X and PlayStation 5, as we know, are coming this year. And Ready at Dawn, obviously has said publicly that they want to make games for multiple systems, because again, making games on just one console was making it difficult for them to run their company. They have said that publicly. Now, considering that Ready at Dawn wants to expand their company with AAA development, it makes perfect sense to have the potential Order 1887 sequel on multiple consoles. And I would like to believe that if they do in fact have retained the rights to an IP that Sony did not want to move forward on, the Xbox Series X could actually get the Order 1886 with higher res graphics as like maybe a pack-in bonus if you bought the Order 1887. So now I want to go to the panel on this. Now, I know that no one is excited about this game as much as I am, but I'll go to So Shady first on this. Shady, after hearing the leakers say that it is that they are working on a AAA title, that it could potentially be the Order 1887, would you like to see this Sony exclusive come to the Series X sometime in the next couple of years?
Yeah, sure. I think that was one of the titles that has the most room to grow. I think it's a great example of a AAA game that put its story and lore and cutscenes and whatnot first before the gameplay. I didn't play almost any of it, but I did watch it front to back. And my God, the story and lore was deep, man, like long. It was really long. It constantly jerked the control away from the player and gave you these gorgeous cutscenes. I loved the lore. I thought it was wicked. These knights of the round hunting these beasts and stuff. I thought it was really, really cool. They just need to realize that they're making a video game, I think, and go hard on the gameplay elements of it and let the story like do its thing without being the main thing. This isn't a Telltale game. This is like a, third person shooter. Everyone thought this was going to be Sony's Gears of War killer. And it was like such a slowed down, kind of by the numbers, very linear, overly cinematic, cutscene heavy game, I think. So tone back some of the story, let us explore the lore in different ways instead of just watching CGI cuts, not even CGI, in-engine cutscene after cutscene, I think, and double, triple, quadruple down on the gameplay elements, and this could be a fantastic shooter. The world is there, the lore is there. I love the look of everything. The weapons were cool. But I just think they need to go harder on the gameplay, and they've got a winner on their hands. And by putting it out there for everyone to experience, that's fantastic. I see nothing wrong with that at all. So I hope it's true. I'd be excited, and I'd certainly check it out.
Yeah, no, definitely me too. Of course, a Reformed Tone drops an outstanding $5 super chat. He says, I put the Order 1886 in the same category as Quantum Break. Masterpieces not well received. I would agree with that. And that's a great analogy. I love the way you're going with that, because I think both those games should have gotten more shine. Kid Smooth, let me get your opinion on this, dude. I don't know how much of the PlayStation backlog you have played, but the Order 1886 had and still has tremendous potential, especially like Shady was saying, and I was saying earlier, the lore is there. The story is there in spades. Yes, the gameplay does need a vitamin boost, and they need to fix a lot of the gunplay. But man, there's a lot to work with. What are your thoughts on the potential of not only getting a sequel from Ready at Dawn, but and releasing on the PlayStation 5, which would be a no-brainer, but seeing that exclusive series come to the Xbox Series X?
I mean, just to give you a bit of a background, I was an advocate for the order like in the early days. It's the reason why I bought a PS4 to begin with.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, the thing is, the order was actually supposed to be a trilogy.
It was. Yes.
Somebody on the he wasn't really that much of an insider, but it was somebody that was working for PlayStation back then. They were demoed the game, and he dropped tidbits to me. Like I knew the game was going to be short, and that it won't have like co-op multiplayer long before that it was like out there. So I was doing videos on this on YouTube that are still up about like the information of what to expect from the order, and people thought I was just making this stuff up just because I was an Xbox guy. And I was like, no, I'm actually looking forward to the order, but it won't have co-op. It's going to be short and whatever. Yeah, so the thing is, like, when I did get the order, and because I got it day one, I played it, I enjoyed it, I reviewed it. My issues with the game is probably everybody else's issues. It was one of the games that it did some things very great, and there's some things they just said that they just needed to fix, which could have been done in a sequel. And I feel like they had easy things to fix, and that's why a lot of us was looking forward towards a second game, because it would have the second game probably would have been like a killer based off what they provided in the first game. So the fact is to see it that it's potentially coming to Xbox is, I didn't know Sony owned the IP. So if Ready at Dawn has reacquired that IP like Remedy did with Alan Wake,
yes,
then
similar.
I mean then that would be awesome. I guess it won't be that big of a deal because they only put out one game, right, for the one order game. It'd be different if it was like something like that had like something of significance. But that game just screamed potential. I would like to see it if the Order 1887 was announced today to be a PlayStation 5 day one title. I would buy it. It would be the game
I'd be all over that. Yes,
but if they can get it on the Xbox, I mean, I'd be extremely excited. I'd be very, very excited to see that happen, and I hope it does.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I actually did not know. Thanks for the information, dude. I didn't know that you were a big advocate for the game, that you actually got some behind-the-scenes information. That, being a fan, that must have been amazing to be able to know some of the, the behind-the-scenes stuff that as content creators, we very rarely are privy to. So that must have been really cool. And I agree with you. Even if this is announced as a PlayStation 5 exclusive, I'm there day one. I have the collector's edition with him being pushed through the banister and the werewolf on top of him. I still have that in storage. I love the game, and I am looking forward to the sequel. Crispy Bomb, let me go to you next on this one. I don't know if you got a chance to play the order or if you even know about the Order 1886, but when I heard this rumor, again, not many shows are talking about this. I decided when I write these shows, I actually write it as a fan. Like, I put myself in the 300 plus people we had watching tonight, and I say, if I was on the other end listening to the show, what would I enjoy listening to? And that's how I write these shows. So when I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, I have to talk about the Order 1887 because it's a sequel I never thought we'd ever see. And when this story broke, I said, well, listen, there may be some credence behind this. Are you a fan of the Order 1886? And would you be interested to possibly play a game that you might have skipped on the PlayStation 4 on its sequel coming to the Xbox Series X?
I have not played it, number one. Okay. The thing that I saw in the trailers interested me. Because I'm, let's say, you remember the old Mummy franchise in the movies. this felt like kind of something like that, because you brought in, you knew the time of when they were, and you saw technology that would come to fruition down the road. And I actually, like, the trailers I saw got me interested. The problem is, and it makes me kind of say, hey, being an Xbox gamer, the problem I have is that there's so much put into cinematics in PlayStation universe, especially nowadays. Like, and I understand it completely, but my thought process is, if I want to watch a movie, I'm going to watch a movie. You know what I'm saying? If I want to play a game, I'm going to play a game. All right. And I feel like after, and you're not the first person that said cinematics. First off, great cinematics. That's awesome. Great. But I want to play a game. Okay. And Ready at Dawn has a great pedigree. You know what I mean? And they have done some amazing games. And you're going to sit here and tell me that they weren't hampered by a cinematic focused game that was apparently short. I don't know, but I mean, I just keep hearing that, not just you, Kid Smooth, but just people in general. It was very short. And I've heard that about Detroit Become Human, a couple other games that they've not necessarily had the total, exclusivity towards, but I feel like PlayStation, like, even when I saw Godfall, for example, it feels like they're changing, but it feels like they've changed so late. And I would be absolutely totally interested in the 1887 if that would actually come true. I am not going to sit here and be like, I have read just about every leak and everything else that you've seen, and I'm just not going to say that PlayStation's just going to let it go unless Ready at Dawn owns that IP. And if they own that IP and they do it the way they want to, this kind of goes back to EA and Respawn. Okay.
Yeah.
If they do it the way they want to, and they release it on multiple consoles, you might see something totally different. Now, the thing that I would have a problem with is that you still have 1886 exclusive.
No, I don't think I don't think it would be. I think if they owned the actual rights, they could logistically release that game as an HD port on both the PS5
but I want you to think about this for a second, and I understand what you're saying, is that 1887, so you call it the order 1887, technically it is a different IP if they wanted to say that.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I really don't know the back and forth business aspect of what exactly happened. I'm only speculating on the fact that I added more speculation onto the rumor that he said that it's coming out for both. And the reason why I added the how that could happen is because if they bought back the IP, they own the rights to that IP. And even though it was on another console, meaning the PlayStation 4, they are the owners of that IP. They purchased it back, or the rights got reverted back.
So I'll throw you another curveball. Okay. If they actually own the order, not necessarily any number involved, the order IP, then they can release 1886 after they announce 1887 on Game Pass.
They could. I mean, listen. Again, this is a topic that's obviously surrounded in speculation. But again, I don't know where it's going to go. I hope that it goes somewhere. And again, I'll be very forthcoming about this. Even by some chance, this is some sort of an amazing PlayStation 5 exclusive. sign me the F up. I'm signing up day one and buying it, whatever collector's edition they come with it, because I love the first one. And it's going to be interesting, Crispy, to see where they go. I understand what you're saying, though. You want to play a game. You want to play something that requires skill to be playing that game. Whereas for me, I don't mind having a bit of both. I don't mind having a cinematic experience that's telling an incredible story, and at the same time gives me the
I'm not gonna say that I don't enjoy an incredible story. Like, I was interested in Death Stranding. The problem is I could never play it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I got you. Like, I see your point.
You know what I mean? Like I was interested in the story of Death Stranding, but I had to watch people to understand it. You know what I mean? Because they were more patient than I am. I'm not a patient gamer. I'm more like, I'm going to get you. And that's the way I'm going to roll. You know, and if I'm going to play a single player, I'm used to the Xbox ecosystem. I'm used to Gears of War. I'm used to Halo. I'm used to having both right in front of me. All I have to do is say, you know what? I'm done with this campaign. Or you know what? I'm done with this multiplayer for the day. And you know what? I still want to play the game, but I can go in the campaign or I can go in the multiplayer. I have those options. People don't understand that you have those options, especially with exclusive content on Xbox. You have those options. I've had most, and like I've said 100 times, Gears 5 should have stuck with Act 1 and kept going, because they had me like sweating on my palms, like, you know, because I'm playing on Insane, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, I'm going down this corridor with these fucking stupid juvies, and I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like, and I died like 10 times, you know, but that's where I want to feel. But then I can go and say, you know what? This shit's annoying me. You know what I mean? I can go back to the freaking multiplayer, and then I can go wreck people. You know what I mean? And make myself feel better.
Yeah, no, I get your
it's kind of selfish, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the way I feel about gaming. Like, I don't have to make choices that require me to shut down the whole console or the whole game in general. I could just go and say, okay, I still want to play Gears 5 today. I'm going to go to the multiplayer. I'm going to go to the campaign, or I'm going to go to Horde. I'm used to that. I've been playing on Xbox for 12 years.
No, well, listen, I completely understand your point. Maybe the Order 1887 may not be for you because of the way it's built, and I have a suspicion that it's going to be the Order 1886 with the corrections in control that we've all been asking for. But before because obviously we're past the 2-hour mark, and I want to get Gaming Forte's final thoughts on the Order 1887. My question to you, Forte, is this: you are a multi-plat player. You play on multiple consoles. We know you own quite a bit. You own the PlayStation 4. You have a Switch, you have a Monster Rig, and of course you have the Xbox. Would you be interested to know that the Order 1887 could potentially come not only to the PlayStation 5, but to the Xbox gamers with the Xbox Series X in the next couple of years?
Absolutely. I actually did play the Order 1886. It's one of those few games that I actually took time away from Destiny to play. It was short enough, so I was able to,
it's only about 6 hours. It's
literally
was
able to blast through it in literally a day and not even a day and a half, pretty much an overnight session. I really enjoyed the game. I thought it had some really, really cool ideas. I thought some of the I think some people were a little critical and a little harder on the game than it needed to be. I don't think it wasn't super polished in certain areas that it needed to, but I mean, it was a visual wonder. Like you played that game and you felt like you were there. I'm a huge sucker for
yes.
Yeah, I'm a huge sucker for the Victorian area, so I really, really enjoyed just the setting in itself. So I felt like that kind of carried me through the short campaign and some of the misgivings that the game actually had. And I always felt like this is a game that if they revisit it and gave it a sequel, they could really knock it out of the park. Knowing that this has the opportunity of being something that they're going to make again, and also being able to play it on multiple different platforms is always a plus. I will always choose to play my games on Xbox if available, just for the trophy systems and stuff like that. Because I like achievements over trophies. Yeah. You know, no lie. I mean, that's just me. But overall, I think this is another good thing for gamers if this was to come to other platforms too. I really do hope they did win back the rights, not win back, but get back the rights, because Sony did own the IP itself. So if Ready at Dawn can actually cohort that and get it back to making a multiplayer, that would be even better. But overall, game was very, very fun, very, very cool. You only really needed to go through it one time, no multiple playthroughs, but the time I spent with it, very short, but I enjoyed it. And I think that was pretty much the narrative for most people. They just wanted more, and they were hoping in a sequel they would actually get that. So I'm praying that this is true, because I can see them really diving deep. Like, I'm talking about really deep into some of the stuff that kind of just got, mentioned haphazardly playing through the game.
There was so much potential.
There was so much stuff that they said. It was like so much stuff that was said in the game that they never even got time to revisit on.
Dude, there was talks of vampires.
Exactly. And none of that stuff really came into fruition, because they were trying to just really stay laser focused on the story that you were actually dealing with. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the story between the
they were the Knights of the Round. Come on.
It was incredible. And that's what I think overall I enjoyed the most about it. But like I said, the game was just way too short, and that was a detriment to it, because they didn't get a chance to dive deep into everything else they needed to.
I think the sequel was probably going to focus on vampires. I think it was going to change with each game, like the first one being werewolves and stuff like that. But
yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because I forgot that they did. It was rumored to be a trilogy, and
yes,
that kind of makes sense. Like they start an olive branch in one game, and then it kind of ventures over to the next one. So I'm even more hoping that this is true, so we can get that.
I don't care if this was exclusive to a potato. I'm buying it. I'm buying the collector's edition and putting that potato.
You know what this reminds me of? THQ, and I'm a huge Darksiders fan. Huge Darksiders fan. When THQ was making that game, when we heard after they debunked and they got rid and they sold off all their rights, and the developers came out and said what their plans for Darksiders 3 and the whole trilogy, or it was actually a quadrilogy, and they wanted the last one for you to play as everyone.
Yes.
Game. That's what that's what I was envisioning. As I was playing through it, you would play through the game with each horseman, and the fifth game you would do 4-player co-op through the whole thing.
My God.
And I thought that when they came out and said that in that developer interview, I was like, this is the culmination of what I wanted from this franchise, because I saw it heading in that direction, and it was just very, very unfortunate that a lot of them came back and did some of the other games, but it's never the same when you had that idea in your head at first, and then all of a sudden everything just splinters off. So I'm hoping that this is true, because pretty much the same development team is there. And if they can bring that together to, give this franchise a reboot and just finish off the trilogy, that would be even better.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, listen, this has been one hell of an episode. Real quick, I have to thank Gotham Guy. My God, he drops a bombacious $50 super chat, and this is what he had to say. He says, "Hey, Boom, always love your shows. Not trying to play favorites, but I think that this is one of your best episodes you've done. Kid Smooth, Crispy Bomb, Gaming Forte, and So Shady. You guys are a well-oiled machine of cold, hard facts and common sense thinking." Well, dude, thank you so much for the ridiculous super chat, but more importantly, thank you for the outstanding compliment. So let's get everybody out of here. First of all, we had over 315 people watching live, and that is a big deal. The numbers continue to increase, and all I'm going to say is that if you are new, and I saw a lot of new names, hit that subscribe button. I can guarantee you that if you had fun tonight, and I welcomed you like I try to welcome everyone in the chat, whether you're a veteran of the show or you're new, this is your first time, everyone gets the same hello, and I hope that you're doing well. Hit that like button and also subscribe button. I'm trying to hit that 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. That is the goal. Whether or not I get there, well, I can only do that with your help. And of course, let's get to the outros. Kid Smooth, first of all, dude, thank you so much for hanging out with us for 2 hours. I've been wanting to work with you since you were on Breakfast with Boom many, many moons ago. Love what you do in the community. Love the content that you bring each and every week. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your outstanding and constantly growing YouTube channel.
Yeah, please follow me on Twitter at KidsMove if you want to just hear like unfiltered. Well, it's limited since there's only so many characters, but
yeah,
I say a lot on Twitter, so please follow me there. Also, for streams, you can follow me on Mixer at mixer.com/IamKidsMove, and of course, check out my YouTube with simply just KidsMove. You can search me there. Thank you for having me, Boom. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy the show, and hopefully, I can do another show with you again in the future.
Oh, you're definitely coming back, dude. Don't worry. The invite is already in the mail. We just have to figure out the day and date. And Crispy Bomb, dude, first of all, thank you for answering the call. I certainly appreciate you giving your very raw opinion. But of course, it's an honest opinion. You are a gamer through and through, and you enjoy, and you are what I would consider a hardcore gamer, but you're also a hardcore podcaster because you're on quite a bit of different shows. I want to thank you again for being here. Do me a favor. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your other works.
Well, all I got to say is thanks, Boom, for having me. This chat was fire tonight.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, absolute fire. I love the conversation. You know what? You could disagree. That's cool. I love it. In the end, it's at Crispy Bomb on Twitter. You know I'm going to drop those bombs. That's the way I roll, okay? Sometimes I'll argue with people, but I'm respectful. I don't throw it out there with all the BS involved. I don't try to swear. I mean, that's, it's kind of,
it happens. We're all adults.
It hurts, but you want to start swearing at me, I'll just walk away. That's the way I roll. Just say, hey, have a good day. Because in the end, we are all gamers, and you might disagree with me. That's cool. But in the end, you find me at Retro Renegades Tuesday night, 7 p.m. with the Graphic God. And it is Jay, for some people that don't know. And he does a lot of things for a lot of people. And he deserves everything that would ever come to him. And it's unfortunate because we're like an hour before RDX. And I know RDX is fire, but come on, people. We're an hour before. Come check us out. All right. He plays old school games. All right. You might not have ever seen them. Old school games. And then I'm on the next podcast Saturday nights. And other than that, I want to say I love my CCC friends, but unfortunately, Mel is going to focus on streaming. CCC is done.
Yeah.
So I know some people might not know that. CCC is done, and she is moving on to greener pastures, as I like to say. And I'm going to continue to podcast. Boom. I will answer the call every time.
I definitely appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Now, listen, dude. Again, thanks for being here, dude. And yeah, you will be invited back. Love having you on the show. Love your passion for gaming. Of course, So Shady. Welcome back to the realm. Obviously, you took last week off, and you've been actually, nursing yourself back to health. So it's great to hear you back in full form, fighting those zealots that you enjoy fighting, and pushing your dominance in the empire that you created, known as the Shesh Empire. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter and check out any other show that you're on.
No problem, Boom. What can I say, man? Everywhere I look, there's just a zealot throat waiting to be choked out. And I'll oblige. This negative movement in gaming has got to go, man. I'm going to stamp it out myself if I have to. I am so shady. I can be found at the Sesh Empire on Twitter. I currently lord over the realm of gaming over there. You can hit me up anytime. I try and message back everyone as fast as I can. I love interacting with other gamers, man. I don't like just fighting with fanboys. I want to hear why other people are. Why do you game? What is it that made it to you? Tell me some stories and whatnot. I love that kind of thing. I'll gladly respond with my own. Yeah, you can find me here every Monday night. You can also find me on your show, Breakfast with Boom, on Friday mornings. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out, spending these last 2 hours with us talking games. I loved it. Great panel, great topics, Boom. I can't wait till next week. Thanks, everybody. Happy gaming.
All right, thanks again for being here. We'll see you Friday morning, Shady. I'm working on the show right now as we speak. Gaming Forte, my brother that I get a chance to live with for a week in the compound come this June. I'm very stoked about that. Do me a favor, dude. You are constantly on social media talking about positive things in life and in gaming. I love the video you did the other day for Slow-Mo Backslap, who had a birthday just the other day. That was pretty dope. But also, I really enjoy what you bring to the table, not only on Luca's amazing Scumcast, which happens weekly, but also the Basement Radio Arcade podcast with Enrique and the crew, as well as what you bring to the table each and every week on Primetime Gaming. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Yeah. So just to say one thing about the slow-mo video, I'm a sucker for always being as nice and cordial to the friends that I have around me, because those people are not guaranteed to you. You know, there's a lot of noise and a lot of people always trying to bring down your sunshine and bring down everything that you stand for. So when I find people that I literally love, and when I tell you I love Slow-Mo, that's my brother, and I will always be there for that man anytime he needs me, and anytime he needs me, anytime I need him, I know he's going to be there. We may go at it, we may yell and scream and cuss each other out on different shows, but that comes from a place of love, and that's why that video came out, because, you know, I just don't do that for anybody. It's like I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, you know what? My man's birthday today. Let me do something special to you. And I'm just that type of guy. If I'm down with you, I'm down with you 100%. And that's pretty much how I feel about everybody on this panel too. But outside of that, man, it's Gaming Forte everywhere, YouTube and Twitter. We're on a streak right now, 3 days in a row with a video. Finally got the bugaboos out and wanted to get this channel back up and running again, especially with all the news that's been out. So really appreciate anybody that subscribed to that channel and watched those videos over the last couple of days. Really appreciate that, because it has been growing, but it's always more we can do. So just reach out to the closest people around you and just be friendly to everybody. And that's basically all I have to say.
Well, thanks again for being here as always. And again, we'll close out the show how I usually like to close out these shows. You know, obviously with gaming, at the end of the day, it's all about games. And you got to remember, but you know, read what you are writing before you hit send.
Yes.
Don't be that person that uses race, creed, color, sexual orientation as your lead into why your console sold more fucking games than the other one. Please don't do that. And I don't like the curse, but I want to push this forward. I've seen too much. This world sucks, folks. Okay. The world is dirty and it's nasty, and there's shit going on that we do not have control over. Gaming is supposed to be a safe space. It's supposed to be a fun space. So treat it as such. Even if you want to fly your flag hard, remember, read what you wrote before you hit that send button. And trust me, you'll thank me for it. And I, like my dad used to tell me when I was a kid, 2 really important things. One, he say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And he would also follow that with, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. I guarantee you, you're going to have a great day. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, I have to thank the amazing super chats that have come in. The generosity for Double Barrel Gaming cannot be denied. Thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. And we will see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and friends. Once again, folks, have a great night.
Peace.
Later.